So welcome back to another episode of Off Air with Alex. We got another big star in Pennsylvania politics joining us today, along with his second in command, or maybe the first in command if you ask her, Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman and his wife, Second Lady of Pennsylvania, Gisele Fetterman, joining us now from their home near Pittsburgh. Guys, good morning. Thanks for giving us some time today. I know you guys got a busy life and schedule.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, we're delighted to be here. And that introduction, it's like a big political star, and also John Fetterman, the way it really is, the dynamic. She's everyone's favorite, whether it's my parents, our kids, the governor, the dog, everyone. So I'm just here along for the ride.
You are along for the ride. Let's talk about that ride, how that ride starts in the morning. You guys have children. You've both got busy careers separately and together as parents and a couple, obviously. But what does your day look like when you start out? I'm sure you get up kind of early. What does your morning routine look like?
Well, I get up. I'm a weirdo. I'm a morning person, so I usually get up, super early. It just naturally. I don't use an alarm clock or anything. And then I go grab. If I'm out west here, I go grab coffee and hit the trail for several miles, and then come back. And then our morning, at least for me, primarily involves begging children to get out of bed and do, brush their hair and brush their teeth, and asking 36 times, what would you like for breakfast, and imploring them to make it. That's my morning.
Yeah, I definitely need an alarm clock. It will get snoozed 5 times before I can actually get up. And, it's like packing lunches or, did you do your homework? And it's a lot, there's a lot of screaming, not from us, from a lot of noise.
Not screaming, but a lot of whining and a lot of, I don't want to, or
Yeah, they're very noisy mornings.
Yes.
Then, we have Levi, so then I have to walk Levi, make sure he's fed. Yeah, they're pretty chaotic.
Yeah, but just a lot of begging and pleading, for children to please go to school. That's how I would describe my morning ritual.
Well, it's kind of what you do later on in the day then when you make your political day start. You're maybe begging and pleading with colleagues or with folks out in Pennsylvania across the Commonwealth to maybe think differently about their lives. You're always out and about, either on Twitter, on MSNBC, CNN, kind of sharing thoughts and getting your, I guess, viewpoints out there. How do you prepare for all the media and the actual political job and responsibilities you have every day? Are you reading a lot of highlighting? What do you do to prep for all that stuff?
Well, a lot of it is just part of the job. It just comes innately. You mentioned interviews. I just sit down just like we're doing right now with you, and just having a conversation and just tapping into what I believe and know to be true, whether it's advocating for, the latest dust up over gay rights and legalizing marijuana, or our election results and the truth surrounding that, and the lying and the smearing involved in that. It really just comes, easily, because all I'm doing is speaking about what I know to be true and what I, deeply held convictions as far as I'm concerned.
Why do you think you resonate with folks so much? I know that you announced a run for Senate, or potential run for Senate, a couple of weeks ago, and you had tons of response right away. Why do you think you resonate so much with folks beyond the state of Pennsylvania as well?
Well, I don't know if it's true. I like to think I have some resonance, but I just, 20 years ago, I came to Braddock to work on and promote these kind of issues and policies and ideas. And 20 years later, the fact that it's resonated with anybody is humbling and gratifying.
I think he's really authentic, and I think we really crave that, especially in politics. And I think that's where people connect. We're just real people who live our lives, who have kids and a dog.
You mentioned your familial roots in Western Pennsylvania before we got on, and I'm just a Western PA dude wearing shorts in winter. I got my Carhartt on, and this is who I am, for good or ill. And the things that I espouse and believe that we spoke about earlier in the interview are the things that I have for the last 20 years. And if somebody finds that interesting, I don't know, but that's just who I am.
Now, John, since you brought it up, there's been much ado about what you wear and how you look and present as a politician. Does that annoy you? I know it usually is reserved for women, of course, but now it's to you. Is that something that annoys you of leave me the heck alone?
That's a great question, Alex. Thank you so much, because I received some vindication, recently. I was dubbed an American taste god by GQ magazine, so, all the years of slights and eye rolls, especially from this one. I mean, you want to talk about who was really upset by that.
I told him that was irony. They were playing with you.
No, it's absolutely.
They didn't mean that.
So they were, Gisele, you think they were mocking him? They were mocking him?
Yeah,
Oh, no.
He just didn't get the joke.
Yeah, well, again, and I don't want to know if it was an inside joke, but the point is that it's like to have your style validated by the style book for American men. It's not unexpected, Alex. I got to tell you, but it certainly was gratifying. I must confess.
Well, congratulations. I wasn't aware of that superlative. So a late congrats on.
I'm trafficking facts here. You can look it up. I assure you.
I know they're tough to find these days, but I appreciate that. Talk to me about the rest of your day. What are you doing when the cameras like this aren't on, or you're not on a conference call, you're not driving to Harrisburg? What's life like at the Fetterman household, or when you're out in the community? What are you doing day to day off air, I guess?
I'll answer for Gisele because she's often too modest to talk about it. Gisele manages a group of nonprofits, and on many days of the week, she's out distributing food and clothing and diapers and formula and winter coats just this past week, through her nonprofits. She is, boots on the ground, front and center in Braddock, really 5 or more days a week doing that, and no, completely a salary free on a volunteer basis. Me personally, like everybody else, these days, it's a lot of it's virtual, it's phone calls, it's Zooms, it's all kinds of meetings, and it's all kinds of conversations and discussions. So there's not one typical day, I would say. I mean, is that a fair statement?
Yeah. Our days are pretty unpredictable.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful there's less traveling now, but before that we would be in completely different parts of the state all the time.
Yeah. And I don't know if our children share this view, but I actually like, that if anything good come from it, like spending more time with them and seeing them more. I don't know if they're happy about that, but as a dad, it's also nice that I get to see them more under these circumstances. And to Gisele's point, we're traveling a lot less, much the way I'm sure your viewers, are. And there isn't a typical day, but we often always insist on meals together as a family. Taking Levi for a walk, really the kind of simple pleasures, really, honestly.
It's really great you guys still find time to keep family center focus in today's crazy world, and both of you are so busy. Where do you both get the drive to serve? I mean, you both do such different things, but yet so similar things. Where does that drive come from?
For me, I think it's gratitude. I'm grateful that I live in a country that's safe. I'm grateful my children have a future here. I came to this country as a young immigrant. So for me, it's really gratitude. I try to think of initiatives that would have helped my mom, who was a single mom raising me in this country. And I think that's what drives me.
I mean, I want to riff off what Gisele just said. It really comes down to gratitude. I was born into kind of typically or historically difficult circumstances. It was an unplanned pregnancy among 2 teenagers, quite frankly. And 52 years later, they just celebrated their 52nd wedding anniversary this month.
Wow.
And things worked out. And I just got lucky. And paying that forward, I've had opportunities in life that, came my way, not because I was smart or special or anything. It was just, I happened to get lucky, and I just wanted to pay that forward. And public service was always the mechanism for me to do just that. I don't need my own nest feathered anymore. We're doing fine here, and we're grateful for that. So I really wanted to work with Gisele, serve with Gisele, to making Pennsylvania just a little bit more so.
And on that service part of this, you both do, like I said, so much every day, and I'm sure there's a lot of admiration and support. There's also the criticism in 2021. It's inevitable, and I follow both of you online. You're both very active. What is it like being at the receiving end of not only the good stuff, but when those trolls do show up or other politicians target you guys as a family or as individuals? What is that like being at the receiving end of a phone blowing up? What do you do to keep the noise at bay, but also be aware that some of it you got to deal with?
Well, for me, it's hard. I'm sensitive and I take it personally. And I want people to like me. I'm not like that. Oh, I can just shrug it off. I've learned with time to be better at it, to not take it as personally. But for me, it's difficult. It's been a long process learning how to learn to mute that for me.
I don't really understand where it comes from. I genuinely don't. Like yesterday, an assassination death threat was mailed to us. My wife posted it on. I didn't want her to, but she, that's her choice. Like we need to just remind ourselves that a lot of this is just professional wrestling, but sometimes people take this too seriously, and I advocate for certain ideas and policies that I don't find them are controversial. I don't. It's just very basic things. I don't understand why and social media has accelerated this kind of anger and the velocity of which it spreads and the misinformation and some of these other things. Like we're no different than just about anybody. And I want to emphasize most people are truly wonderful. I ran an errand this morning after getting coffee, and 4 or 5 people stopped me to say something nice, and it's really, really great. So it's a minority of folks for sure, but it's definitely a more angry, more targeted, more kind of like, really, and I don't understand truly where it comes from. I would sit down with anybody. I would work across the aisle for any shared goals or shared objectives. And there's always going to be an aspect of professional wrestling in politics. I get that, but we're in an era now where it's more personal, and it seems to be more vicious, and it continues to get more and more incentivized. That the more that begets, it begets more, and I just think we need to just kind of pump the brakes and look at each other differently. I have a fundamental standing policy. I wouldn't say anything to you on Twitter that I wouldn't say to you in person, or in being in the same room with you. And that's how I conduct myself. And Gisele is too nice for this, honestly. Like she is very sensitive, and we have had moments where it's kind of like, honey, it's going to be okay. It's whatever. But
I think people forget that there's real people right behind these political figures, or these are real people and real families. And I recently, in the last few months, I would get so much DMs and hate mail. And I started sharing those with their names on like my Instagram stories, because I didn't want to hold it in. I felt like it was like a release for me. And I don't know what I was hoping would happen, but I did get a message from someone and said, "Oh my God, that's my grandfather."
Wow.
I'm mortified that he's harassing you, and I'm calling a family meeting. And so I want other grandfathers or whoever to think, "Oh my God, my grandchild could see this. Like, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to be better than this."
Oh.
So I think there was a positive twist to that.
And I also want to be like, this is a small minority of people, and one person, right under your nose on the phone might seem more than it actually is. But to me, kindness is my guiding philosophy. Like we have a lot more that we can all agree on and work together for, instead of spending our hours trying to tear each other down.
Before we move on to more soft, fun questions, one follow-up to that. Is it ever too much? Have you guys ever thought about not being as public as you are? I know some people love seeing the insights into your lives. Ever have any discussions about this is getting too crazy, too out of hand? Let's back off.
Yeah.
I think we both take breaks.
Sure. I wasn't involved in social media until I, made my first run for public office statewide. And whenever my political career comes to an end, I won't be a part of that anymore, because it just, I don't see the upside in some cases that way. You know, we have to just kind of take a look at what are we really accomplishing when we make everything about, you know, like this Hunger Games of cruelty online. Well, you know, it doesn't make us any better as a country. I hope we're able to all kind of collectively say, hey, you know, before you hit that send button, you know, what does this really need to go out into the world? You know, is this really going to add to the discourse?
Right. And the discourse, I'm sure, is just heightened now more than ever. But yet, like I mentioned before, you're still taking on this this new challenge, perhaps, into politics, a more, what's the word I want, maybe a larger, more seen public position with a potential U.S. Senate interest. Maybe Gisele first. What was your reaction when he said he might want to do this? There's been great support. What was your reaction as a wife?
So, you know, it's no secret. I don't love politics. I think it's mean, and I am not. But, you know, one day it clicked for me that the work that I was doing in my nonprofits were all filling a void that policy could have fixed. And it was this idea, oh my God, this exists only because of a failure in policy. And if he's in a position to make that better, or if anyone is, then it's your duty to do better. So I fully support him. I think he's amazing. And we need to have good people in these positions so that the culture changes, right? If we all just sit around and say, this sucks, but we don't try to change it, then we're not making it better. So I support him, and I think he would be amazing.
And John, why the run? Like I mentioned before, like over 30,000 contributions, over $1 million in like 2 weeks since you announced. Why now? Why this opportunity?
I mean, ultimately, if I decide that's the route, is for, you know, kind of reasons what Gisele just said. It's this idea that you want to try to be and influence the kind of change that you would like to see, you know, in the public sphere in that regard.
And it's knowing that comes with a sacrifice. Unfortunately, it does.
But it's not really a sacrifice compared to how difficult it is for a lot of Pennsylvanians too. I mean, let's be honest here. I mean, it's a choice that I would undertake. You know, some people don't have a choice whether they're working for a low wage job, or they have struggles with their health in Pennsylvania, or there's any number of things. But that's one of the reasons why I want to do these things is that we do have an imbalance. It's undeniable. We have an imbalance here in Pennsylvania and across this country. And it, you know, we're fine. We're going to be fine. But there are a lot of individuals that deserve, and a lot of communities that deserve a better hand than what they've been dealt. And if you're able to kind of work against and dismantle that Gordian knot a little bit, you know, that to me is my calling, and that I'm going to pursue that so long as the people of Pennsylvania would have me.
I love that. It's a great message, I think, for everybody, especially right now. Away from politics, what would we be surprised to learn about Mr. Fetterman, Mrs. Fetterman, the family as a whole? What would we be surprised to hear goes on, or some fun fact about you guys?
Let's see about John. Oh, he's a big Below Deck Mediterranean fan on Bravo.
Bravo TV, represent.
What would be mine?
She has a background in nutrition, but she has a real ice cream problem. You know, like, I mean, like, yeah, like, and it's also really annoying because of the amount of ice cream she eats, but I don't know where it goes. And that frustrates me, because if I just looked at a pint of Ben and Jerry's, you know, I get, you know, just like right on me. So, yes.
I eat a pint a day before bed.
Don't tell people that. You're going to get DMs about this now. You know that, right?
Really,
probably a pint a day.
It's annoying. I got to tell you. Yeah, it is.
And he'll come home and he'll say, I got your ice cream. And I was like, you got me 4 pints. It's 7 days this week. What do you think I'm going to do for the other?
Yes,
that is insane.
That's you know, one of my husbandly duties is to keep her in ice cream, but yeah, she has issues with ice cream. That's a fact, without a doubt. Yeah.
Well, you're doing fine, judging by your Twitter presence. I think the ice cream is not an issue. What is your Sheetz order? I know you're hip to this, John. Wawa and Sheetz. What's your Sheetz order?
Oh, I don't have one necessarily, but I got to tell you, when you've driven 5 or 6 hours, and you're, like I was just up in the northern tier recently, and you see that warm red glow, and it's just like, you're going to have a clean restroom. You're going to be able to get your favorite drink. Mine happens to be flavored seltzer. I'm a huge red beet egg fan. Central Pennsylvania, I red beet eggs. The cheese curds. I mean, like, there's just so much great stuff, there at Sheetz. And when I go to Sheetz, I always have to get her those, what are the unbaked cookies? Is that what they're called?
He'll get me a caramello bar,
Yeah.
2 unbaked cookies,
Yeah.
and a Kit Kat bar.
Yeah. So I've just always been Sheetz, and I'm proudly Team Sheetz. That's no secret. Steelers fan, out here. But maybe we can bring Pennsylvania together by acknowledging that, Sheetz is better than Wawa. Can we all agree on that?
We can, and I fully support this. I wasn't going to take sides on much, but Sheetz, retweet, down with that.
Sometimes you can't be on the sidelines when and I agree, and I respect that.
Yeah, whenever your community needs you, you got to show up, right? Name a Twitter follower. This is guest for either of you. Name a Twitter follower you're both proud of that follows you.
I'm really proud of Levi's to go, and he follows me. So,
I hope this doesn't sound. I'm proud of anyone. Whether it's a troll or whether it's a supporter or whatever, because if to follow somebody implies that you care what he or she says, and I take that responsibility seriously, and I always try to be informative, entertained, fair, kind, and give a perspective. So there isn't one Twitter follower per se, but I am grateful for anyone that does so.
There's so much good to Twitter too, to all social media, and I feel like I find like these amazing people. I mentioned in the tweet that I love Sudoku. I'm a big math nerd, and I have like 30 of my Twitter friends who are all playing Sudoku with me, like right now, actively.
Oh, cool.
It's little things like, it's so much fun. I shared my username, and I had like 30 requests, and we play Sudoku every time I have a little break here and there. And it's just, it's fun.
And speaking of Twitter followers, one time, I forget what it was that she did, that I really was like mad at her, and I unfolled her one time.
I blocked you when you posted my Funyuns photo. I blocked him for a week.
Yeah, she blocked me because I posted a behind the scenes shot of her inhaling a giant bag of Funyuns. Like, this is your second lady right here. And I literally went to her and she blocked me, so we had our own little Twitter dust-ups between us.
I love that. We'll have to send that to TMZ here shortly if it gets any worse, I think.
It's the truth. I even posted it. Like, I literally, my shock when it was like, you have been blocked, and it's like your wife. But it was a pretty funny shot of her eating a giant pillowcase.
I'm in pajamas on the couch eating, a Costco-sized Funyun bag in my own private space. And
he violated that space. I hear you.
I think people need to know the truth. And then, she blocked me on Twitter for several days.
When you guys aren't feuding on Twitter or out in the community doing your respective work, it's 8 p.m. on a random night during the week. What is the family doing? What are you both doing? I'm assuming you're at home. Well, what's the Fetterman clan up to?
Sure. Well,
we do a lot of art. I do a lot of forced crafts with the kid. It's like my hashtag, forced crafts, where I make them do art because I think it's important. I do a lot of art too. I work with fiber and yarn and things. And we like Bravo and silly shows.
Also, like recently, I've been playing Plants vs. Zombies with our youngest son, August, on his iPad, like helping him get through some of those. When it's nice out and it's summer, I love taking walks, in the evening at 8:00. The dark at 5:00 thing isn't my style necessarily.
Oh my God, I know.
We try to maximize family time, whatever we can, truly. Whether it's, like one of our favorite things is there's a great ice cream place out west here on the Westmoreland Heritage Trail that will, take an ice cream run or, take Levi for a walk. Really any kind of family time, it's really a treat too.
We really like each other. We enjoy spending time together.
Our kids like their iPads more than me sometimes, but yes, at the end of the day, once we break free of that gravitational kids and screens. Sometimes it's always, everyone's always really glad that they did it.
Wasn't August the one you shared the email of inadvertently on Twitter and had to delete it?
Yeah. I doxed my own son.
Yeah, you did.
Where he was messaging me like, "Dad, when are you coming home, Dad?" with my McDonald's dad like 8 times, and I'm like, "August, my God!" And then I accidentally doxed him. Yeah, so we had to get a new account for him. But I want to be clear, no one made any no one.
He didn't get any.
Yeah, no
right.
one.
But they're all so funny and so different. Like when we were still, it's been hybrid, virtual, managing all that with school. It was supposed to be science class, and he's really quiet in his room. And I go in his room, and he's watching The Bachelorette on his iPad. And I was like, "August, what are you doing?" He's like, "I wanted to know who she picked." And I'm like,
I didn't know that. I didn't know that, and that's that's oversharing right there. Like I didn't know.
But that's like real life. That's what happens. Yeah, he really loves The Bachelorette.
Yeah, I do not support that. I don't know how that happened, but at any rate, yeah. But it's really family time, and of course that surprised. But yeah.
Right, well, I guess we'll have to get a talking to later. I'm not a Bachelorette fan either. I think it's a little too crazy.
Neither am I. And this was live on air, kind of like, wow, I didn't know that. But we need to work on that one, I guess.
Well, I want to thank both of you for coming on and talking with us today. Last idea question for you before we go. Where do you hope Pennsylvania is in 5 years? Where do you want the narrative to turn to in the next 5-10 years?
Well, I would like it to be a more just and fair and prosperous place. I would like to see small and rural counties invested in with their infrastructure. I would like to see us pass universal rights for everybody in terms of banning discrimination for the LGBTQIA. I would like to see our industries, like restaurants and hospitalities, rebuilt after being so harmed through this pandemic, with revenue generated by the sale of legal marijuana in Pennsylvania, hundreds of millions of dollars every year. I would like to see us commit to a environmental trajectory that we guarantee clean air and clean water for all of our residents, and do it with a way that honors the industrial heritage and legacies that we have here in Pennsylvania too. It's a false choice that we would have to choose one or the other. I would love to see a minimum living wage too, where we acknowledge you cannot live in anything close to dignity at $7.25 an hour. So there's a lot of, and I don't see these as controversial things. I don't. I feel like these are things that we could all just embrace and move on and find new things to argue about, more nuanced things to argue about.
Yeah, I'd love for us to be a national example of what a welcoming state is and really lead that charge in Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania has a ton of great people, and I really think with you two helping out, it can certainly get there. Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman and Second Lady of Pennsylvania, Gisele Fetterman, thank you guys so much for talking with us today. I'll let you get back to being mom and dad.
Thanks for having us.
Of course. And thank you all for watching at home. This episode of Off Air with Alex is done. We'll see you all next time.